Right now at Guthrie Barrel.
Heavy rain and wind is hitting the capital, flooding streets in Lower Hutt, closing multiple schools, cutting off power, and bringing trees and debris down in the city. Meanwhile, the entire Manawatu-Wanganui region is under a state of emergency, where some evacuations have taken place in Manawatu and on the coast of the Tararua district.
And someone tried to get across.
Waipa and Otorohanga in South Waikato remain under a state of emergency after significant flooding over the weekend. In Wellington, regional and metro trains have stopped, while ferries and flights have been cancelled. Streets in Apuni and Nainai appear flooded, with reports on social media of some cars getting stuck in Lower Hutt. On Monday morning, PowerCo said about 23,000 properties across its network had lost connections, and in the Wellington region, about 10,000 had had their connections cut. The storm has left a big mess for the owner of a Polish restaurant at Plimerton, north of Wellington, to clean up after an exterior wall blew in. Owner of Topor Bistro, Steve Askew, said luckily, another local business alerted them, as otherwise they might not have been back in till Wednesday. "I'm sure we're going to be closed a couple of weeks," he said. "All of the ceiling on the inside is gone. All the studs and stuff, they're quite wet. I don't know if they need to be replaced or if they can just be dried out. The hole in the wall needs to be fixed." Askew said the kitchen and main appliances are on the other side and escaped. He said up till this, the bistro had not been doing too badly recently. A growing list of schools in the Wellington region are also closed due to the terrible weather. Those include Wellington High School, Wellington East Girls College, and St. Oran's College in the Hutt Valley. Rongotai College in Wellington has closed for the day, with tree debris littering its grounds. Principal Kevin Carter said he was at the boys' school in Kilbirnie at 5 p.m. on Sunday, and everything was fine. But on Monday morning, it was a different story. "The grounds are covered with branches from trees that have come down. It's pretty wild and unsafe here on the south coast," he said. Some gutters were down, but otherwise buildings were not damaged by the look of it. He had had a quick walk around and would do a closer check later in the hopes they could clean up and the wind would drop. Carter said they would decide later whether to reopen tomorrow. All families had been advised by email or text the school was closed, he said. Air New Zealand's Chief Operating Officer Alex Marin told 9 noon nearly 100 flights have been cancelled in and out of Wellington on Sunday and Monday morning. All flights in the capital, Palmerston North and Napier, have been paused until at least 11 a.m., at which point the airline will reassess the weather conditions, Marin said. She said there had been some infrastructure impacts, and the airline was working closely with Wellington Airport on that. In Wairarapa, evacuations are underway in Masterton due to the threat of falling trees. Wairarapa Assistant Commander Ian Wright said it had been a busy night with weather-related call-outs, which continue, and that trees coming down were the biggest risk.
Here's the floodwaters.
He said there are shallow-rooted trees on Lincoln Road that are very, very unstable. So both roads have been closed and the people have been evacuated.
See here in the distance, they're holding out really well. And the ducks.
A man has been killed. Thousands of properties are without power, and flights have been cancelled as wild weather lashes large parts of New Zealand. Met Service issued a red warning yesterday for a low-pressure system creating heavy rain and strong winds in parts of the North Island, with Wairarapa being hit the worst, with 256.4 millimeters of rainfall and 240 kilometers per hour wind gusts overnight. The conditions have eased slightly, but continue today as the system moves to the southern, central, and eastern parts of the country. Images showed several roads underwater, rivers flooded, and trees and power lines down across the affected areas. Water supply is also being affected, with Pirinoa residents told to boil all drinking water before use, as floodwaters inundate the local water treatment plant, and Taihape, Mangaweka, Hunterville, and Ratana residents told to conserve water. A state of emergency was declared for several districts. Schools were closed and flights were cancelled, aborted, or delayed. Kate McAvoy was on one of the final flights to attempt a landing at Wellington Airport yesterday evening with her 3-month-old son, Stuff reported. But at the last minute, the pilot pulled up from the approaching runway and turned back around to Christchurch. McAvoy told Stuff she was surprised Jetstar tried to make the journey. We were watching as all of the departures were getting canceled, but ours was still going, and we're like, oh my God, why aren't they canceling it? She said. The wild weather has claimed the life of one man, who was found dead inside a submerged car on State Highway 39 in Puketatara last night. He has been identified as father and keen fisher Brent Knowles. My beautiful dad, you were my world. I loved you so much. Life will never be the same. Broken, his daughter Tanya Knowles said on social media. Prime Minister Christopher Luxon offered his support to those affected, but warned the country is not out of the woods yet. To those facing damage, everything possible is being done to help you get back on your feet, he said in a statement today. Some regions are still facing the worst of it too. Please take warnings seriously and don't take any chances. Meanwhile, Hutt City Council advised residents on Heather Grove and parts of Riverside Drive to leave their homes. Our teams are in the area and door knocking. However, do not wait for someone to knock on your door. If you can see water rising, feel unsafe, or are concerned, leave now and move to higher ground. Emergency Controller John Kingsbury told RNZ the Waiwetu stream hasn't reached a level of forced evacuations yet. It's not at the point where we believe we need to go in and take people out of their homes at that stage. So we're not at that point yet. Should that happen, then we will absolutely make that call. The council also said severe gridlock was blocking the emergency response, asking people not to travel unless they absolutely had to. Emergency services, Wellington electricity crews and response teams cannot get through to affected areas. Every non-essential vehicle on the road is delaying help to people who need it, it said in a post. You are stopping fixes from happening. If you are already on the road and it is safe to do so, please turn back. Police also urged motorists in the greater Wellington area, particularly in the Hutt Valley, to stay off the roads where possible.
Oh wow, look at the road.
If you must travel, please slow down and be prepared for surface flooding or obstructions on the road, a police spokesperson said. One man carried his wife and kids to safety in the suburb of Waiwetu after floodwaters surrounded their home. He told One News the water level was getting very close to entering the house and was up to his knees as he piggybacked his partner and 2 children out of the house in separate trips. This area is really low, and it's always been like that. But this is like the highest in 30 or 40 years, he said. I've rescued my wife and both of my kids and my food truck, but hope the water doesn't get into the house anytime soon. Meanwhile, roads in a lower Hutt suburb have essentially exploded as heavy rain and overflowing storm drains caused water to burst up through the ground. Cracks and holes have shown up in streets around Stokes Valley, with dirty water bubbling up underneath. The intense weather also brought down a small landslide behind a nearby home, which did not appear to have touched the house. The Wellington region has been under an onslaught of rain and wind since yesterday evening, with many locals waking to downed trees and power lines, no electricity, and widespread flooding. In Stokes Valley, Kamahi Street appeared to be taking the brunt of the water damage, with dramatic photos and videos showing the road disintegrating, one resident said. The road surface is buggered. It is lifted and is disintegrating, said Tareen Batten. There were many shredded trees and a large amount of surface water when she drove through the suburb amidst the pretty impressive storm. Footage showed a manhole cover forced open by a small geyser of water. In other videos, the mangled surface of the road was covered in debris. Local man Jeff Lummis believed a burst stormwater drain had caused parts of the road to lift. Water was tracking in towards one property, which might have some minor damage, he said. He estimated it had lifted 200 millimeters in some places. Don't come up Kamahi Street. The road has essentially exploded, one woman wrote on Facebook, alongside a video of water flowing like a river down the street. Megan Goodall told the Herald the road was extremely damaged, with holes and fissures with water coming out. Fulton Hogan was monitoring the road closures, but Goodall said, "At this stage, there's nothing they can do." Some homes on the lower Hutt Street were flooded, along with several others in the region. Emergency services were called elsewhere in Stokes Valley when a slip came down behind a house on George Street. The slip stopped short of hitting the building, and it did not appear anybody had been injured. Strong winds have brought trees down on houses and blocked roads across the region overnight, with an extremely unusual 193 kilometers per hour gust measured in Wellington. Multiple severe weather warnings remain in place across the North Island and Upper South Island. The red heavy warning for Manawatu, Rangat K, and Ruapehu districts, north of Failding and east of SH1 has lifted, but an orange warning remains in place until 3 p.m. Much of the eastern side of the North Island, as well as the Kaikoura district and Canterbury, north of Amberley, remains under an orange heavy rain warning.